We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Master Your Life, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining host and her guests give practical advice that you can use every day in the quest to master your life. Now, here's your host, Leaha Mattinson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's show. I'm host Leaha Mattinson, and I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everyone from throughout the world who has joined us for Master Your Life and Recovery Road this week. I also want to say thank you for putting us now at about 280,000 downloads per month. It's with your participation that we get these great numbers and lots of people tuning in to what it is that we're doing each and every day to help you to improve your life, to find more insight, intelligence, and inspiration, to live a more masterful life, and to be more at peace in your life. So thank you, everyone, and give yourself a pat on the back, physically and virtually, for being here and for sharing this information with other people, because we come from a very different perspective. And that perspective is that wellness comes from within you and that wellness is within your control. So this show is for wellness seekers and for people who want to live and express a life that's full of joy and happiness, even amongst things that are very, very challenging. So thank you all for being here. Today on this episode, I have with me Master Lee Holden. Lee Holden has been a Qigong master and a Qigong practitioner for over 30 years. He lives in Santa Cruz, California. Lee's been on the show several times over the past 6 years. We've probably done about 10 episodes interviewing Lee and his whole family because they're amazing people doing amazing work in this world. So for those of you who maybe have missed prior episodes, you can go and search back on masteryourlife.ca and see all of those great interviews with Lee, wherein almost every single one of them, we do a practice for you where you can actually take back your health and well-being. So Lee, welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Oh, thanks, Leaha. What a great introduction. I love everything you said. You started with the pat on the back, and somebody I was just listening to was suggesting giving yourself a high five in the mirror every morning. So that's also a good one. Hey, if you need a high five, just look in the mirror and give yourself a high five. I know it seems a little cheesy and corny, but you know what? We our nervous systems respond to these kinds of things and make us feel just a little bit better.
Right. So that's your challenge today, everybody. Give yourself a high five. Do it right now.
Yeah, I'm going to high five you.
I'm a high five.
Bam.
There you go.
We give each other some chi.
That's good. That's good. Imagine when you high 10 people, it's like, woo.
Oh, wow. Now you're really up in the game.
That's right. And so we're playful and fun, but I want people to, if you're not watching this, but you're listening to it, then make sure that you come over either to the YouTube channel or the masteryourlife.ca website so you can see in person Lee and I, because what I think is important more now than ever in this day and age is that you can see that the people who are coaching you are actually in fairly good shape themselves. In this, milieu of, craziness where people who are doing coaching around health and well-being often look more sick than the people who are trying to get help being well. So come check it out.
Like, maybe I should see a different coach.
Maybe I should just check. Yes.
That's exactly. I'm taking off my jacket, Leaha, just because you're saying, I got my Zen Circle t-shirt on right here. So,
oh, look at that.
And I got my Chinese writing behind me. That Chinese writing means the three treasures.
And what are the three treasures?
The three treasures is you. That's who you are. It's your mind, and it's your energy, and it's your body. So it's everything about you. And you know what I love about it is it's called the three treasures first and foremost, because most of us look at our bodies and go, I don't like my hair. I'm overweight. I'm this, look at our emotions. I'm so stressed out. My mind full of negative emotions. Well, the Chinese reframed it, the Taoist Chinese, the Chinese masters, I should specify, because this comes from a culture 4,000 years ago where nature was revered. We as human beings were revered. They saw life on earth as a heavenly place and a place to really work with these energies and really learn tools and resources to transform stress into vitality. whatever that stress might be. It might be, health challenges. It might be, life challenges. Back then there was, war and famine. There was all kinds of challenges. It might be, parenting challenges, but there's always ways to work with that energy to transform it and to grow from it and to learn from it. And they saw it much like gardening. They said, there's always negative energy, but what we can do with that negative energy is just compost it, to transform it, to turn it around. And that's a really good way to look at life. It's not about avoiding negative. It's about using it in ways that are useful and that can really grow this beautiful garden of who we are and really step into our three treasures.
And I think that's why Qigong actually has appealed to me for such a long time, Lee, is because I'm a farm girl. So all the nature talk definitely, resonated with me and is real life. It's a real life practice where you actually are growing things, getting ideas, growing things, nurturing things, and things naturally die, so in this, and then regenerate. So there's a regeneration process. And what I have found in the coaching world is that people want to deny that there's this regeneration process that goes on and that death is part of that natural process in life, as is conflict, right? As is conflict. So when we talk about war and famine, those are kind of the external things that are happening all around us. And maybe in this day and age, we can see it more transparently, and that before we maybe were only worried about the little things that were happening in our own family and life because we didn't have so much access to electronics and TV and media and news, so there was more attention on this physical reparation of the body, because if you didn't have a good body physically, you couldn't go out and plant a crop. So your family would starve. So watching the TV wasn't serving anybody, right? It was like, okay, we better get out to work. But now we're so divorced from that lifestyle. I think that people really do get a long way down into unwellness before they do anything because they don't notice it. So here we are in Canada right now. It's snowing like crazy out my window, and I needed to go out and do shoveling this morning, because that's just a natural part of life. But a lot of my counterparts who are living in the sunny parts of the world go, I can't believe you're still shoveling snow at your age, Leah. I'm like, what? I'm not old.
Hey, that makes me strong.
Right?
Hey, grandma's shoveling snow. That's a role model.
Exactly. And so this coming back to, I think the beginning of springtime, which is also kind of this time of year that we're in right now, is that there is this regeneration process that's happening and the sprouting of new ideas and new things. When we hear about babies and new birth, and, we can see it in plant life, and we can see it in the announcements of families that are, going to be having children a little bit further down the road. And it might make us more reflective about our own parenting. And so as you and I have evolved as human beings, you've got several children now. You're up to 4 girls, right, Lee?
That's right. I have 4 girls from 14 to 14 months.
Yeah. So this nice, beautiful age span. And now I'm into grandparenting, so I've got grandchildren that are in the 8 to 4-year-old range. And then I've got, and then another 2 that are 2 and 1. And then I've got another couple on the way. And so it's brought to mind this parenting and grandparenting aspect of life, and just how much attention we need to put on nurturing these little creatures that we've brought into the world. And that part of it is about our own self-nurturing so that we can be well. But there's this other aspect of life that is about sharing and nurturing and growing these human beings that we've brought in. So we wanted to talk on this episode and focus in a little bit on maybe parenting skills that people can use, or tips that you would have that you've maybe used over this span of time, because 4 girls, that can't be easy. I mean, come on.
No. Right? It's full of challenges and teenagers too. I mean, there's so many transitions, from I'm just thinking from 1 year old to 14, there's so many stages that they go through. And then, when we hit adulthood, we kind of slow down. We still go through our changes and transitions, but man, what an age group where you have to be, right on top of things and going with the flow and flexible and centered, because, emotions run high. They're trying to make sense of all these changes going on in their bodies, and they have all kinds of social pressure and school pressure and whatnot. So how do you be stable, a rock, advice, and be strong yourself? And that can be full of challenges because we care so much about these little people, especially our own children, and just how to nurture them to bring forth their best qualities. And, sometimes there's resistance from them. So how do we as parents, slip in good information? How does it land in a mind of a 14-year-old who's completely not interested necessarily in, maybe the things we're talking about, Qigong and meditation and eating healthy? They just want to, have fun, be with their friends and stay on their devices all day long. And so how do we, mold and shape them and have them really understand what it means to be healthy, happy, fulfilled human beings through their own life experiences and through their relationship with us as parents, and not make ourselves too stressed out doing it in the process? How do we make it fun and light and entertaining and things like that? So that's kind of been my thinking. And one of the first things to do is to stay strong and centered within yourself, because from 1 to 14, they are impulsive, emotional creatures. And it doesn't always make logical sense. And as they get ramped up emotionally, it can really create a lot of stress and emotions within you. But if you can stay centered and balanced, your actions come through even more than your words. The way you show up in those relationships and what you do, it speaks loudly. And so I find that staying centered, staying balanced, being calm, being clear, even if there's some emotions running hot, I see that really effective, especially in the long term, in the long run. Just yesterday, I picked up my kids coming home from school, and we had a really intelligent, deep conversations about sex, drugs, rock and roll with my 14-year-olds. And I was like, wow, they're really confiding in me. And we've built this relationship on trust. And, they don't talk to anybody else, they were telling me, like they do with me. And that felt really good. I felt like it took, some trust building on both sides. And I have some tips and tricks that I'm new to the teenage world, but I think there's some things, the foundation that was built a long time ago.
Awesome. And yes, so I wanted to just take a moment to talk about this other little challenge that some people maybe will be having as they're listening to this, is there's a lot of fatherless families or families that are broken up, and they're trying to figure out how to actually pick up the ball and do both roles. And so first of all, wherever you're at on that spectrum of things, if you're single parenting and you're the wife or the woman, know that you're going to handle things differently, because that's just psychologically how you are. You can have a masculine aspect to you, but you're wired as a woman. And so there is the duality of a relationship when you've got a dad that's either absent, or maybe the dad has primary care of the children, that there needs to be that feminine aspect of him sort of figured out as well, but not lose the manhood part. Like, don't drop the man card because because society is telling you to do things that are maybe not very manly. So I just want to encourage people that wherever you are on that I've been through 2 divorces. So I know what it's like to actually, try to wear the hat, try to wear the pants, try to work, try to do all that stuff. Lee, have things been in your life perfect in that regard? Have you noticed that?
Perfect is such we're perfectly imperfect as human beings. And, to be able to accept our imperfections is part of it, because we've set up society in a way that is not necessarily natural to who we are. And, when we're talking about change and transitions, things have their season, and relationships might have their season too. You might be married to one person for your whole entire life, but that goes through stages and transitions, and you're a new person, between this year and the following years, and you have to reinvent your relationship, or you transition out of a relationship. And that's always hard. Transitions for us human beings are challenging, really challenging. And sometimes we really need those tools and resources to go through those transitions, whether it's a relationship or whether it's, kids going through their own transitions with their, just as they grow up. And, that's been, I've done that myself. And it's always important to me to do it gracefully and with love and with kindness and as amicable as possible, and really team up for the greater good and for the health of the kids and whatnot. And, you know, my ex-wife and I are really good friends, and we collaborate on many projects and collaborate on parenting. And so that feels good, even though there was, you know, there's emotional energy and there's disappointments and expectations, and how do we, you know, use that to grow kinder, more loving, compassionate hearts. And that's a big challenge. And I think we can rise to that challenge, especially if we have the tools and resources that help us through that.
Yes. Awesome. And yeah, because we are all human. And I think that the psychology and the culture that we live in right now has not necessarily been that kind. And we are always trying to now pick up the pieces. The people who are trying to master their life are going, okay, now how do I make it better? And so as we go back to kind of the very beginning of the show, when you're talking about these three treasures that we all have, you know, we have the three treasures, and some people maybe aren't even aware that they have them, or they don't have any sort of construct around it. So it's hard to really align and know how awesome you are, and also how awesome other people are that are sitting across the table from you, you know, who you're trying to manage these transitions through. So starting from that position of trust, though, or like an understood trust with your partner, whether they're coming in or they're exiting your life, or you're you know, you're figuring out how to continue on honorably and nobly and, you know, kind of in your imperial self. Those are all conversations that are much easier to have if you understand those three treasures, which I think is a gift of that Qigong has. So for people who are interested in knowing more about that, they can come to the shop page on the Master Your Life website. You can check out Lee's school. You can check out all the programs that he has, because he has many that target in on all these aspects. And so we're just talking about one little tiny snippet. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds on the parenting and relationships, because that's complex. And you've got great material for helping people with that already on your website. So we're going to stay fairly focused on how do we help kids and how do we do the parenting stuff today. So it's really special, this relationship that you have with your daughter.
It's so special. You know, I love it. All of them, you know, they're just so, you know, and whatnot. And I think, you know, we as parents, like you said, Leah, we really need those resources. Being, you know, what Qigong really helps us to do is lower our stress, help us find our center and increase our energy. When we have enough energy, we meet life's demands. And when we feel low energy, we get overwhelmed by life's demands. And maybe they're simple. If we're low energy, you know, even the simple things we feel like, oh, I'm just overwhelmed, I can't handle it. When we're overwhelmed, we're snappy, we're not our best selves, whether we're parenting or in our work. And so always start with, how do I increase my energy and lower my stress? When I lower my stress, my energy is more efficient. And that really does come, that Qigong is just, it's one practice that is for transforming stress into vitality and increasing energy. I mean, I think people do all kinds of things to get more energy. And Qigong is so direct, and it's so accessible, and it's so applicable, and it doesn't take much time. So if people really wanted to just check out a free class, sign up for a free 2 weeks of subscriptions, and we got a immune boosting things. All this stuff is free at the website. It's holdenqigong.com. And the hardest part is Qigong is spelled Q-I-G-O-N-G, and it's on Leah's show notes if you want to check that out and get some resources for yourself. And you know what I'm doing now, and this is a great thing, and this might be for parents. Like, I want my kids to meditate, and what I found is if I just have them meditate, yeah, they'll do it, but they kind of like space out and tune out, or, you know, we do it before going to bed, and, you know, it's not like they're asking for it. But what I did was I took stories, I made up these very elaborate stories with voices and everything else. And then at the end, one of the characters in the stories do a meditation, and they ask for it, and they want story time every night, and then they meditate. So if the lion in the story says, take a deep breath and relax, I see all the kids take a deep breath and relax. So it's, you know, there's something innate about us that wants stories. And we love, you know, our minds are built on stories. We're always talking to ourselves in an internal dialogue. And this story time can really help come in through the subconscious mind, or get this information. It's kind of like hiding spinach in a delicious fruit smoothie. And so that's what I did with these stories, and it works so well. I'm in the process of recording a whole bunch of them so other parents can use them and get meditation into their kids' brains.
Yeah, I love it. And you know what I think is different about Qigong too with the meditation is that usually it's an active meditation. Like it's not telling you to space out and, kind of leave your body. It's really more this internal know what's going on in your body. Those are very different things. Yeah.
Most of us are having an out of body experience all the time. We're like daydreaming here, there, everywhere. And sometimes it's good to come back to the moment and just be at peace in the moment, to find contentment and to just give your mind a little break from all of its thinking, to quiet your mind, return to this feeling of being centered and grounded. And, when I've done work at the kids' schools, these kids say, one of the teachers said, "Hey, you're in third grade. You don't have stress." And one of the kids said, "Well, you don't know my brother."
Right.
Everybody's got stress. It just looks a lot different. And we all feel life's pressures, and we all have expectations and disappointments. And then how do we manage that? How do we work through it? How do we, be our best selves in the best situations and in the most challenging situations? Yeah.
And this is serious because 30 some years ago, I don't want to age myself, but I'm a counselor by trade.
Oh, yeah.
So I was counseling for a little like rural isolated school division, but I was doing self-esteem assessment testing at that time. I'd taken some training from this Dr. Fraser at University of Victoria. And so when we did the baseline testing on kids coming into school, they had great high self-esteem, pretty good. By grade 3, it was in the tank, like grade 3. So we're starting things like project self-esteem. I started a gymnastic club there because I'm also a gymnastics teacher. So but the storytelling or whatever, like we have lots of parallels about, practices that we do and things that we've done. And I often have parents come to me and say, like, how did you get that little one or that group of little ones to just change their behavior that quickly? Mm-hmm. And it was this activating energy, right? Mm-hmm. But first of all, recognizing there's a problem. So I think we tend to do, and we even do it with ourselves, is to go, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I'm all right. It's okay. And then we also put that on our children. They're okay. They're all right. It's okay. We're going to get through this. And this time, in particular, there's lots of things that have happened that have not been that nice, to never mind the adult psyche, but to our children, with the mask mandates and with the fear constantly pumping through, so I know the grandchildren, my grandsons, ask me, Grandma, are we going to, wear a mask into this store, this kind of stuff? I'm like, not this, Grandma, but
these are conversations we've never had to have. These are new conversations and new stressors on, not only like on our physical bodies, because we're, the way we're breathing, our emotional bodies, everybody's in, scared and living in fear. And, there's a lot going on, and our young ones, are resilient, but they're taking it on. And so, it's kind of like, how do we give them tools and resources to find balance in this, maybe what we call crazy time or particular life stresses, and how do we give them the ways in which they can thrive as opposed to be overwhelmed?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, this is brilliant. The en masse post-traumatic stress disorder that could be happening. These kinds of things are real. And so if we have real tools that can help to ameliorate that, or even reverse it, or give people hope in the moment, for ourselves, that is the most empowering thing. So often on these episodes, I ask Lee if he will do a little exercise or a practice for people to help them to just feel what it feels like to do a bit of Qigong and to change that energy. So maybe if you're sitting there and you're a little bit stuck, or somebody that's been a bit stuck with all of the shenanigans that are going on in the world right now, and that it isn't serving you for your physical health, maybe your mental health, your emotional health, or your family's health, then maybe take a moment right now just to do this little practice with us. And Lee, do you want to do like a 5-minute practice of some kind?
That sounds great. Let's do a 5-minute breathing practice that helps us get out of stress.
Perfect.
All right, so let's do a breathing practice. And this practice is called the cleansing breath. And, breathing is so instrumental in helping us take charge of our minds and bodies. Why is that? Why is breathing? Because breath is the bridge between your autonomic nervous system and your autonomic functions and your conscious mind. For example, if I say take a deep breath, we can all do that. We can all change our breathing. It's the one thing in our bodies that we can change besides blinking. These are autonomic functions like your heartbeat. If I said slow down your heartbeat or speed it up, most people can't do that unless you're a proficient yogi, right? Make your hands warm, digest your food a little quicker. All of these things are autonomic, meaning involuntary, but breath can be both and it crosses over. So as you change your breathing, you start to shift and change, especially your nervous system. And if we get out of stress mode, which is your sympathetic branch, and get into relaxation mode, your parasympathetic branch, sometimes called rest and digest, that's where healing happens. That's when you're in that parasympathetic branch, your body's natural healing power gets activated. And that's whether you're, 1 year old or, 90 years old. We self-regulate when we're relaxed because the danger response, the fight or fight response, allocates energy to go to your muscles, to move it away from your digestive system, to get ready to run away from danger. Well, if we're constantly in stress mode, it actually wreaks havoc on your body. Most diseases and problems start with this emotional stress. So we can take charge of our health and wellness first and foremost by managing our stress. How do we manage our stress? Well, number one, we can change our breathing. So this breathing practice will really help to lower stress, get you calm and clear so that you're your most resourced self when you're parenting, going to work, doing whatever you want to do in your life. So let's start. Let's put one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. And if you're driving, you just imagine that your hands are there. So you don't have to put the hands there, it just helps to just feel where the breath is. I want you to start your breath in your belly and let it rise up to your chest. So it's a long, slow inhale through your nose. A full deep breath, and then you're going to exhale through the nose. And you'll find that the breath sinks from the chest to the ribs to the belly. At the end or the bottom of that exhale, I want you to blow the rest of the breath out through the mouth. Now, the blowing of the breath out through the mouth, I want you to imagine whatever stress is in your body, you just release it. Like a pressure valve, it just lets it all go. So it's inhale, nose, long and slow, exhale, nose, long and slow, and then inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly, nice and relaxed, and then blow the breath out. And whatever's stressing you out, if it's that person over there, or if you're worried about some work situation, when you blow the breath out, I want you to imagine that energy clearing and cleansing from your body. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest, nice slow breath through the nose, exhale through the nose. And then at the bottom of the exhale, blow the rest of the breath out. Do it again. Nice deep breath. Exhale. Blow the breath out. Very good. One more time. And a couple of minutes of this breathing just helps to reset your nervous system.
Awesome. That just feels so good.
There's often a lot of breath still there. A lot of breath is still there. So we're notoriously exhaling very short and shallow, which is going to limit our inhales. And so when you blow the breath out, you're going to really help to oxygenate your body and make yourself more oxygen efficient by those slow breaths through the nose, and then that mental emotional release with that intention coupled with the breathing practice.
Yeah, love it. Check in. How do you feel? How does it make you feel? Well, I just love it. And one of the things that I did as a mother and a grandmother in particular, because I learned Qigong after my children were grown, but with my grandchildren, I did all the breathing practices with them. Well, maybe not all of them, but this one with them laying on my chest on the couch. And so if I was very had anxiety or it was a busy day or whatever, I would just take whichever baby and, bring them, love them up on my chest as I was laying there with them and slow my breathing down.
Mm.
And you could feel their little body like start to relax.
Yeah.
Right. It's because they absorb at least for me, I found that they absorbed my energy. So if I was overexcited or stressed out or any of that, then it showed up in the kids and the grandchildren. But with the skill of the Qigong and the breathing, I was able to actually change mine and theirs, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. And kids will mirror you. They'll mirror your actions. So there's mirror neurons in our body. So when you start to slow down and become more calm, they just unconsciously start to mirror that and become more calm as well. And you pace their breathing. So if you're doing this breathing, you might even notice that your kids start to match your breathing in a particular way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so powerful. And you don't even know, maybe depending on your personality type too. Like I think you're kind of a fiery guy, Lee, and my hair is that's not a lie. I'm fiery. I'm mutable, but there's things about me that I'm always kind of on a high speed wobble. I'm always doing good things, but that's hard energy to be around all the time. And maybe even culturally, we've been wired to, keep going, do one more thing. You're not achieving anything if you're not working on stuff. So by doing the breathing practices, what I found anyway, is just that it actually allowed me to unplug from that sort of fiery energy of going all the time and to allow people to relax, because it was counterintuitive to me at the point where it mattered, because it was making me sick to keep going on that the treadmill of the fast stuff all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So the shallow breathing, the not being relaxed, even though the culture was saying, yes, this is the way you should be. This is all the accolades, the people who keep doing the stuff even beyond their human limit. That's where all of the accolades and where the juice is, but it wasn't necessarily the truth. So I think that the learning how to calm down and recognizing our own buttons that get pressed happens when we just start doing the practice, because sometimes intellectually we can't get there, right? Because we're busy talking ourselves into or out of something. But if we just start doing a breathing practice because we don't feel that great, or we notice tension or tightness in our bodies, or that we notice that a trigger has been flipped or switch has been flipped, that's causing us to hold our bodies in tightness and tension, we might not even be able to identify what it is, but to respond with going with a quick little breathing exercise to move it through. And how long did that take? Like it was less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like to give people accessible tools that they can use like right away, a little movement, a little breathing practice, a little shift in their minds. And all of a sudden, I'm in a better space, and my actions then reflect that better space so that I'm not acting out of agitation. You might feel agitated, but can we recenter, regroup really quickly? It's like a keto practice. Somebody asked the founder of keto, do you ever get off your center? And his response was yes, but it's only for a few seconds, and so unnoticeable because there's been that training to recenter so quickly that it doesn't take that long. And, if we can get back to our center, back to our strength and power quicker, all the actions that follow that are more in alignment with what you want, rather than in a stressed, agitated space. Then from acting from that space, things fall. And then there's a lot more recovery to make from there.
Yeah. Yes. Have you got a story of anyone that you've been working with recently where you found that they were using the Qigong in their parenting and how it maybe changed their experience with their kids?
Yeah. And I have a lot of teachers, school teachers talking about Qigong, and they do this one. They said we do 7 minutes of Qigong because I have these 7-minute little workouts. 7 minutes is a great one for kids because, their attention span, they need shifting. And then it's unfortunate because we tell kids to sit still, don't move, and pay attention for hours on end. And it's very unnatural for these high energy little beings to do that. So they do a little Qigong before class starts. And this is, I've had many school teachers talking about this. And that what they call it is getting the squiggles and wiggles out, so that they might do the squiggly wiggly thing during Qigong practice and do their animal movements and do their breathing, and they have a good laugh. Then when they sit down, they're much more focused, they're much calmer, they're much more present. And I find that true as well with parenting. If you can get kids to do a few little things, it really, really helps. And like I said before, if you as the parent can get yourself in a centered place, it shows up, because there's so many things in life that happen, whether it's, some other parent talking about what your kids did, a dress code. My kids got dress coded the other day, and, you can get really hot and like want to, get solutions or punish them, and just get real centered and say, hey, what happened? What's going on? How did that make you feel? What was their perspective? And then you don't stack problems on top of each other. You actually eliminate, you take problems away, and then you come back to really simple solution space from clarity of mind. And that is a treasure in and of itself. And so, I hear stories every day about parents feeling more balanced, more centered, more skilled within themselves. So they show up with more resources as they're engaging with their kids.
Yeah. More important than ever now that parents have this. What I think is also interesting is oftentimes we do practices in our own life, but we don't necessarily bring them over into the work that we do. We just only do them at home. Some of the best, most successful people in the world have really good life habits. So they get up early, they do a little morning practice, then they, they spend their time in the morning just for themselves. They, focus in on work in the afternoon, and they, go to bed at a reasonable time. Like they get a good night's sleep. So they have good sleep hygiene, but they don't teach anybody else this stuff. And you go, why is this person so successful over here? And they assume that everybody knows this stuff. Well, everybody knows that. Why would I have to tell them that?
Right.
Don't they know that? It's like, no, people don't know this. So why I'm so incredibly grateful to have you on as a guest, Lee, in this long-term relationship that we've had, and that you keep evolving and bringing new products and programs to people. But because it's skills that you teach people to implement for themselves is what it sets Qigong apart, I think, from a lot of other things, which make you dependent on other stuff. But once you learn some basic Qigong, or even just getting in touch with the playful side of your body, if the internet went down tomorrow and you knew that you could just be playful in your body, you would have learned all the energy mastery that you need to know. And you can just go, okay, now I'm just going to get on with things. And so there's this real set of skills that people can learn that are simple and that they can practice in their own life. And then they can bring forward into their real world professions or careers, not just within the family, but the bigger expanded world. So I'm so glad that you shared that story about the teachers, because it's simple things. And when you do these simple things, it can have a huge impact, not only on those children, but their families too. Because, they go into the family home after a day of school and they go, well, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, what's going on in this chaos world? So they're hauling people out saying, well, try this little bit of stuff. Have you got any stories of times when kids have initiated some Qigong to shake out the sillies or to relax, relief things?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you see kids do it. These are really natural things. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily hold on to emotions like we do. They don't stuff things down. They feel it. They express it, they move on. They're much more present. They're much more impulsive than we are. And then we've set up our society to be much more, put together in a way that sometimes is unnatural. And there's ways now that we can, as adults, express this emotional energy, but from calm, clear places. It doesn't have to be a tantrum like maybe a 2-year-old would throw. Like my kids, when kids would get hurt or fall down in the playground, they would put energy on it. Like, my daughter, when she was sitting in my lap one time, she stood up really fast. She was a 3-year-old, and I bit my tongue really hard and my lip was bleeding. And she just looked at me and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, I was like, kind of like wincing in pain. My eyes were watering, and she just looked at me and she said, do you want me to put some Qi on it?
Aww.
And she rubbed her little hands together and held it on my face and gave me some healing. And, that kids will do that. And I saw her do that with her friends, and they play with energy. And, it's kind of like living what these movies, whether it's Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Kung Fu Panda, are expressing in fantastic fantastical ways, but now being able to utilize those energies in real ways that really help us and give us resources for, health and healing, or for, some sort of stability.
Right. I just love that. And I want to share a story that happens in my family. My mom has healing hands, I think, and my son absolutely is this little heat master. So he's 25. I was out shoveling snow, as I mentioned earlier, but we've had a lot of snow this year. So I'll go out and do the shoveling. And if he happens to be over for a visit, he will do that, warm his hands up and put his hands on my hands. And because I'm cold often, even with Qigong, I've got whatever circulation stuff going on that's neurological. So there's not too much I can do about it, but he'll come over and do this, rubbing his hands together, and you can feel just the heat firing off his hands. It's very powerful, very, very powerful, and very healing. And so you can see for people who've got neuropathy of that kind of thing, where they've got actually their skin is turning white, or they don't have good circulation. If you've got somebody around you, and you can do, the rubbing yourself. So you teach a couple classes around that too, right? I
teach them how to use hands for healing. And we all have healing power. And that's the thing that's very magical about the hands. And right now I'm in the midst of a acupressure course. Self-healing and acupressure. If people wanted to check it out, it's up on my website. But it's going through all these meridians and pressure points on how to use those points for yourself. And think of these acupressure points like light switches that turn on the light bulbs of healing within your body. So if you're rubbing your hands on specific, gets rid of a headache. Oh, this one gets rid of neck pain. It's, our whole body is energy. And if you know those points, you can also then work those points on other people. And sometimes it just works like magic, especially like your son, when you get the energy fired up in your hands. And how do we get the energy fired up? Well, we do Qigong practices. We do some breathing that improves the circulation of energy. Then that energy is easier to project, and we work on some pressure points. So you increase your energy, and then you know exactly where to press. And quite simply, if it hurts here and you put your hands right on the place that hurts, you send healing energy there. You're putting attentiveness there. And this has been techniques that have developed for thousands of years, cross-culturally. We don't always need to go for a pharmaceutical pill. Yes, sometimes we need it, but you have tremendous healing power within you. And you just start to increase your knowledge. If you increase your knowledge, you increase your confidence on both self-healing and being able to do this healing work on other people.
Yeah, then the community of people at Holden Qigong is a wonderful community where you can tap into many courses and lots of wisdom. The other thing I love too that you guys do, Lee, and we haven't talked about it much, is that you actually do teacher training on your website. So people don't necessarily need to go to you. And this was prior to COVID beginning. So this is not something that was because there was a lockdown, this already existed, your teacher training. Do you want to spend just a couple minutes talking about that?
That'd be great. Yeah. So as people progress through this practice, they often get really inspired. I want to teach, I want to share this with my family and my friends, and I want to go in a deeper dive for myself, because if you learn how to teach something, you go way more into the practice for yourself. And, we put this course online. It's online teacher training. It's 16 weeks of self-paced practice. And there's always a Q&A call with me once a month. There's master classes with my teachers and people that have developed a skill set in one particular aspect of Qigong. Maybe it's posture, maybe it's neck and shoulders, maybe it's 5-element theory. We have a master class once a month, and you have access to all of those previous master classes. So it's a really robust, wonderful deep dive into your energy system, how to teach friends, family, community, whether you're a yoga teacher, a psychologist, maybe you want to share these tools of energy mastery with your community, or just dive deeper into yourself. It's a wonderful way to do that. And I love doing it because it's a way for me to pass the energetic healing torch to other people, and they spread the word and give people tools and resources for healing. Much like yourself, Leaha, you've gone through that teacher training, and now you're spreading the word on how to heal your body through Qi.
Absolutely. And I feel younger, more flexible, more centered, more powerful, calmer than I've ever felt in my life. And I have more responsibility, just as a testament to how good the training is. And the other thing that really improved for me was my pelvic floor. And so pelvic floor and the digestive system, which I'm very interested in, your heart, your head and your gut are so connected. So just trying to keep that biome nice and healthy. But the pelvic floor healing for a lot of people who've been abused or had babies, those kinds of things, I just can't say enough good things about just how much I learned, and that I've been able to improve my health. I think I'm in better health now than I've ever been. And that's saying something, because I've been in good condition in my lifetime. Yes,
that is saying something.
But I don't have injury, so I don't have the injuries I used to have when I was doing the Western sort of training, where hitting the gym hard. Like, I have all kinds of residual injuries from that. This really is no pain, no pain. That made me laugh. It's like, oh, Qigong, no pain, no pain. That sounds like something I should look at.
Yeah. Hey, that's my Qigong motto: no pain, no pain. Hey, if it hurts, let's get rid of the pain. And if it hurts when you do it, something different.
Yes. So it's beautiful. Wonderful words of wisdom. We've only got about a minute left. Lee, do you have any last things that you'd like to share with the audience before we go?
Well, thanks, Leah, for having me. I think I just love giving people tools and resources to manage their energy, their minds and bodies in improved ways. I mean, Qigong means skill. So how do we live more skillfully within our minds and bodies? How do we have a different conversation in our own internal dialogue, one that's more affirming to who we want to be, who we want to become? How do we, do simple things? Said, you're a grandma and you're in better health and shape than you've ever been. And that's something that is so inspiring, that people, as we get older, we can feel in better shape. We can feel more energy. We can feel more resourceful, that we don't have to.
We had a bit of a glitch at the end. So I will just ask you to say one more time that at the end of, as we are getting older, that we don't have to feel like we are.
Yeah, as we're getting older, we don't have to feel like we're deteriorating and having all these problems in our bodies, that we can get stronger, that we can get healthier. That, when we get older, we tend to stop moving. If you stop moving, things get stagnant. And if you move your body in very skillful ways, you'll get stronger and healthier. And that's why in Qigong, we say not only add years to your life, longevity, but add life to your years, vitality. And so we just live better with more energy. And this is a practice of skillfully cultivating energy.
Beautifully said. So come and check it out at masteryourlife.ca. On the shop page, you can find Lee and his wonderful work on all of his programs. That's it for us. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. That's all for us. Bye for now.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.